I think I am going to go with Bruce Arena, and for a number of different reasons. Now, while Gregg Berhalter has a higher win percentage, when it comes to what Bruce did, keep in mind that a handball away from going to a semifinal in the World Cup back in 2002. And look, the soccer gods can smile upon you and you can find a pathway through, and that can happen. But Bruce also did this at a time that is very different, more than 20 years ago. The landscape of soccer was very, very different. The resources, the depth, the talent pool, and everything from Major League Soccer to the pathways now to Europe, all of those things were still kind of in the infancy. And Bruce Arena, I think, in that moment, in what would be his greatest moment in the World Cup, showed the ability to bring together a team where you had players like, let's say, a Jeff Agus, who had been around, or players like Kobe Jones, be better than they had been, maybe even arguably the best they'd ever been. A guy like Kobe Jones accept and really embrace a substitute role and an effective type of substitute to come in, like a Kobe Jones. Populate the team with some badass SOBs, Pablo Mastrianis, these types of players. Populate the team with young upstarts, with the likes of Landon Donovan and DeMarcus Beasley. Bring back a trio of goalies that have competed for now over a decade in Casey Keller and Brad Friedel and Tony Meola, for that matter. So I think that shows great man management. And ultimately, I think that team, it should have been no surprise that they were successful because of the makeup of that. Now we know what Bruce Arena has done, because it's not just about the World Cup, but ultimately, let's be honest, that's what you are judged on for the most part. And so getting out of the group, even at that point, was not necessarily something to pat yourself on the back for. We had done that before, but obviously to get that far, and within that process, not for nothing, but to beat Mexico in a World Cup, 2-0. I was walking out of the Dignity Health, and there were some fans walking the other way, and they said hi, and then they walked on, and they turned back around and said, "Viva Mexico," right? And of course, I turned to them and said, 2-0, como siempre, right? So it still lives in the folklore and the mythology of American soccer, and that's because of what Bruce Arena and that team did. So I think, and best is subjective, right? But I think that still Bruce Arena has been the best U.S. men's national team coach in history for a number of the reasons that I said. What do you think, Mosse?
I was hoping you would break the internet by saying Gregg Berhalter.
Hey, I mean, if I had to rank them, then I think he goes second. And it's only because he hasn't had, while he had a World Cup moment and did what basically every other World Cup coach has done other than Bruce Arena. If he had gone farther, then I think that there is an argument. But World Cup trumps all. And I know it might not be necessarily fair, but this is the gig that you're taking, is ultimately, in the case of all these guys, to get the team to the World Cup and to do well in a World Cup.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops every week. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.